This ClickView enablement module will provide you with that next level of troubleshooting when it comes to section access. Section access is a way to limit user access to the data within the ClickView application. This document will cover some of the most common issues and how to troubleshoot them. So, let's begin with a few preparation steps before we begin troubleshooting. In Desktop Client, under User Preferences and then General tab, make sure to check option Keep Progress Open After Reload. This setting will ensure the Reload Progress window remains open after reload so you can easily track reload results. Also in the same tab, by unchecking the setting, Remember Login Credentials until ClickView exits. There is no need to close down the ClickView client in order to access the document with a different user. With this option unchecked, the ClickView QVW file still has to be closed and then reopened to trigger the new section access session instead of closing the entire ClickView client. Now we can begin with our first example. As I open my example1 QVW file, let's take a look at the script. The section access table is loaded from a QVD file. The file contains all the required fields: access, user ID, password, reduction. More details on mandatory and optional section access fields can be found in the ClickView Reference Manual. When loading a section access table from a QVD file, the reload sometimes fails. For example, by reloading example1 QVW, the script execution progress dialog shows that the section access QVD was loaded in an optimized way, which resulted in 0 rows. Press close, and the script failed message appears. Press yes to close the window and reload all data. The reason for the failed reload is that the QVD was loaded in an optimized way, which is not allowed for section access tables. The QVD load can be made unoptimized in two different ways. 1. Apply a function to the field, for example, adding the word upper to make user ID in uppercase. 2. Add a where clause to the load statement, for example, where 1 equals 1, which will have no other impact on the load than making it unoptimized. In this case, we will add the where clause since we do not want to alter the loaded data content. As we reload again, the reload progress does not show the optimized keyword, which means it is an unoptimized load. Closing the progress dialog window leads to a reloaded document without error message. In conclusion, section access reloaded from QVD must be done unoptimized. Now let's take a look at the second example called example2_1 and actually attempt to open it. The section access table is loaded from a database using SQL. Take note, please make a backup copy of your QVW before implementing section access for safety, so you don't get yourself locked out of your QVW file. We will call ours example2_2. When opening the application, user identification is required to log in. In our example, we will log in with the user ID admin. After 3 attempts, the access to the application is denied. The username appears to be invalid and the file will fail to load, and you will receive the following messages. As we open the data source, it is possible to confirm there actually is a user called admin, so the login should have worked. Now, close the access file. Since it is not possible to access example2_1 because you're now logged out, we must revert to the backup QVW file you made earlier called example2_2, where the section access has not yet been loaded. As we open example2_2, it is possible to evaluate the load script. Now, it is apparent that the section access table fields are not loaded in uppercase. As required, according to the ClickView manual, it states, all the fields listed in load or select statements in the section access must be written in uppercase. Enter the upper function to convert the loaded data into uppercase. Notice that the data in the reduction field values A, B, and C are currently in uppercase in the source table and does not need additional formatting. After reloading the altered script, press Save to store the changes. Then the QVW file needs to be closed in order to initiate the new section access session once reopened. As we reopen the QVW file, enter user ID user1 and password user. Now access is granted to the application, and the reduction field only contains one value, letter B. The section access and reduction works as expected. In conclusion, all the fields listed in load or select statements in the section access must be written in uppercase, as stated in the manual. Now, let's take a look at the third example, called Example 3, and how to prohibit the user from seeing data when the reduction value is not available in the reduction field. Notice section access has 3 different users, which should be allowed to see different views. Admin, all values. User 1, A. User 2, D. So, log into the application as User 2, who has access to see value D according to the section access. However, User 2 has access to see all data values, A, B, and C. Considering the section access and the data seen, it appears that this user can see all data if the reduction value is not available in the reduction field. To prohibit the user from seeing data when the reduction value is not available in the reduction field, the strict exclusion option needs to be enabled in the document level. Go to Settings, Document Properties, and then the tab Opening. Check the Strict Exclusion option. This means that access to the document will be denied whenever the field values in the section access reduction fields lack matches in their corresponding section application field. After reloading the altered script, the application needs to be saved and reopened in order to initiate the new section access session. Open and try to log in as user 2, which will fail. It might be after 1 or 3 attempts. User 2 will not have access to the document since there is no matching reduction value for user 2. For this reason, there is no data to present for the user. In conclusion, you can prohibit the user from seeing data when the reduction value is not available in the reduction field. Now let's take a look at example 4. For validation and troubleshooting, it could be relevant to check how reduction will be executed for specific users. This example will require editing the application script, so the login needs to be done with a user that has authorization to edit scripts. By default, admin users are authorized. The easiest way to enable validation of user reduction is to remove the section access logic in the application. This is done by reloading the application with the section access and section application rows commented out of the load script. In this example, it means adding comments to line 23 and 12. By saving and reloading the application, the section access is removed from the QVW and the section access table is loaded as a normal table. So, if we open and look at the data model by pressing Ctrl-T, we can now see that there is an additional table in the model that contains these section access fields. This means that the section access table is now a normal table and linked to the data model through the reduction field. By displaying the content of a user ID field in a list box, it is now possible to show how the reduction for each user will affect the data. Let's add a list box and select user ID. In this example, the user field is user ID, but this could be NTName if Windows authentication is used. By selecting a user in the user ID list box, it is now possible to see how the reduction for this user limits the values seen in the table. The data seen when a user is selected is the data expected to be available when this user also accesses the application. In conclusion, the easiest way to enable validation of a user reduction is to remove the section access logic in the application. In the next example, example 5, we will take a look at the administrator user that does not see all the data in the application. The user expects to see all the available data in the application, but is missing fragments of data. After logging in, the administrator user can see products A and B, but the product list should also contain product C. By accessing the script editor, we can evaluate the section access setup. It is also clear by analyzing the data there actually is a product C in the data being loaded. In the section access table, we can see the intention that admin 1 should see all data by the reduction value being set as all instead of a specific value. What we also notice when looking at the script is that the wildcard operator has been changed by the *is statement. This means that instead of the default wildcard value asterisk, the wildcard value now is the word all. Quite commonly, the usage of wildcard is misunderstood in the section access reduction field. The wildcard means the reduction will be made with all the representative values in the section access table. In this example, it means that the all reduction is equal to adding one reduction row for each unique value represented in the reduction field. Only A and B are used as reduction values among all the section access users. Notice that all is not an existing product value in the data table. This means that the wildcard-based reduction for admin 1 will be equal to giving access to product A and B, but not the product C. So, what troubleshooting steps should you take to resolve this issue? Well, first we need to understand an important point. In order to get a reduction that gives the user access all the values loaded into the data model, the reduction must be set to a value that does not exist in the reduction field. The first troubleshooting step in this example is to give admin 1 access to all data by removing the *is statement. This will change the wildcard back to the default asterisk, and it means that all is no longer a wildcard value. The second troubleshooting step is to make sure that the reduction field is the value that is not expected to be the natural part of the load statement. To be extra clear on this, we add a bracket around the all value, just to see the difference in behavior when using a wildcard and a non-existing reduction. We also introduced a new admin user called admin2 and used an asterisk. To apply the changes and trigger a new session, the document needs to be saved, reloaded, and closed. Now the application is reopened, and we log in as admin 1 again. Just as expected, all the values are now available, including the previously missing product C. Okay, let's close the application and log in as admin 2. Here, you will see that the wildcard reduction gives only the A and B products. Admin 2 has a wildcard reduction and does not get the C products, just as expected, since no user has C specified as the reduction value. To summarize the last example, it is important to keep track of how to reduce data for administrator users. Keep in mind, if you want to show all data that is used in reduction and all data that has been loaded, either option could be valid depending on what access rights you want to grant the user. On a side note, if you wish to dig deeper in understanding and configuring section access, take advantage of our several white papers and articles. As a reminder, when you run into section access errors or failures, a great way to troubleshoot these issues is to become familiar with section access settings and how they are structured and who can access the data. A few additional tools and resources you can use include ClickView Help menu by pressing the F1 key while ClickView Desktop is open. Also, you can view the release notes, reference manuals, article knowledge base, and Click Community.